Oklahoma Senator Mark Wayne Mullin. Senator, always fantastic to see you. Oh, the chest clutching of the Democrats are going to protect our norms and values and institutions. Senator, their grandiosity is a giveaway. Their highfalutin, pretentious puffery tells all of us that they are deeply afraid, the Democrats and their bureaucrat brethren, that Musk and Vivek and President Trump's incoming administration is going to do a clear cut of these institutions and all of the malfeasance that they're up to.
Well, Dagan, it's more fear-mongering that the Democrats put out there. I mean, there was a gentleman, I couldn't see who it was because I just have you in my earpiece, and it said that there's no grounds for getting rid of them getting rid of agencies inside the Constitution. They're still going to uphold the Constitution. I'm like, well, there's actually no agency mentioned inside the Constitution either. In fact, some people would argue these agencies are unconstitutional because a lot of these regulations should fall solely into the hands of the state. The fact is, we're running right now a deficit of $1.8 trillion a year. We have now debt payments because we have $36 trillion in debt, and we have debt payments that's just below $1 trillion a year. There's some models that's going to show if we continue down this path, we're going to be adding $1 trillion of debt every quarter. So that means we're going to be adding $4 trillion of debt every quarter. It's not sustainable. And you're going to tell me that there's not efficiencies that we could find, and there's not dollars that we can save. There is no way that anybody convince me that Elon cannot find $1.8 trillion of wasteful government spending. I'm convinced we can do this. If we can balance our budget, just balance our budget, and then have at least a 2.5% or 3% growth year after year, then we can actually start paying down our debt. Absolutely. And not saddle the generations come behind us. Because right now, every child in America is saddled with $106,000 of debt. 10 years ago, we were making a fit that it was $40,000 a month, Senator, or $40,000
But Senator, you and I know that your colleagues, you're on the Democratic side, are squealing about this. Our own Hillary Vaughn caught up with Senator Warren about snipping away government spending, just snipping it. Take a listen.
Right.
Right now, the government is spending about $2 trillion more than it's taking in tax revenue. So yes. Where do you propose the cuts start?
Well, I propose that billionaires give back the money that they are now taking in giant tax cuts. You notice $2 trillion is exactly the number that Donald Trump's tax proposal, tax cuts in 2017 have cost. So if he hadn't pushed through the tax cuts for billionaires, right now we'd have all the money we need. So why wasn't there a single Republican at the hearing to talk about that?
Senator, that's an absolute lie, and it's easy to prove. All you have to do is to go to government statistics and find out that when the tax cuts kicked in 2017, the next 5 years we had a 48% increase in revenue. It didn't cost money. It made money because of the economic activity that it spurred in the economy. And if we had kept the spending, which is what's causing the debt, at the same level as we had in 2019 before the pandemic, we would have a budget surplus right now, not just a balanced budget, but a surplus of $500 billion.
Well, David, who would have thought if you invest in your community, you invest in people, that they would reinvest it in their community and they would hire more people and they would expand their jobs? What Elizabeth Warren is, where a lot of the Democrats are, is like, hey, listen, we don't have a spending problem. Send us more money and we'll fix it. We promise. Because Washington, D.C. has done so good with managing our money. I mean, look at Social Security. It's just a great a retirement fund, right? Look at Medicaid and Medicare, how much money you paid into it, and it's not talking about going insolvent. So they're saying, send us more money and we'll do better with it this time. Are you kidding me? We know, Republicans know, if we will invest in our communities, if we will invest in those individuals that are creating those jobs, if we'll invest in those small business owners that represent 50% of our economy, they will be able to spend that money wisely, invest in their own community, and hire more people, and you'll see our economy jumpstart. We saw that when President Trump was in office from 2017 to 2020. and we know we'll see it again when he's in office, when he takes office January 20th. The American people know this too. That's why they fired the Democrats, because Biden economics doesn't work.
Senator, NBC News is reporting that President Trump and the incoming administration is looking to hold military officials responsible for Joe Biden's chaotic, deadly withdrawal from Afghanistan. Now, the article is framed in a different way, that the President Trump is making a list of people to court-martial, and actually, in the article, blames the Trump administration equally as the Biden administration for the withdrawal. But just how do you see this article, but the potential that people actually are punished via court-martial for what was a disastrous day in the history of this great nation?
Well, unfortunately, the Biden administration has held no one accountable, and it's not just people in the military. Secretary Blinken and those underneath him need to be held accountable too. Remember, it was Ambassador Promogine of Tajikistan, when I was over there with my group getting Americans out that the Biden administration left behind, told me, quote, when we had 4 Americans at the Panjshir Bridge in Afghanistan trying to get into Tajikistan, that he was instructed by Washington not to assist me in any way. Now, I'm a seated member of Congress working to get Americans out of Afghanistan that they left behind, and he was instructed not to assist us in any way. There needs to be a strong look into what took place, and those at fault should be held accountable. I thank the Lord, and I promise you, everyone that served in Afghanistan, all those men and women in uniform right now, want to understand what went wrong so we never repeat it.
Well, Senator, there are a lot of men and women and their families who are in the military right now who are very concerned about what's happening in Europe and what the Biden administration is doing. They are ratcheting up the tension in the conflict between Ukraine and Russia by sending long-range missiles into the Ukraine that would go deep inside of Russia, by also sending in these landmines. Does it concern you that Biden is widening the war leading into the transition to President Trump?
Yeah, I am, David, I am so past being concerned with the Biden administration at this point, because
But they still have power, and they're using it to widen that war, Senator.
Yeah, what we need to do is hurry up and get President Trump sworn in office January 20th. Like, I want to push fast forward on these next few weeks so we can put Trump in office so he can help negotiate an end to that war, because it should never have taken place, and it would have never taken place. So nothing that the Biden administration does at this point surprises me, because they continuously make bad decisions for America's best interests, and that's why we need to put America first and get an end to these wars when President Trump comes into office.
Before we go, Senator Matt Gaetz, the President Trump's nominee to be the Attorney General, was meeting with senators on Capitol Hill today, escorted by the Vice President-elect J.D. Vance. And there are reports that Pete Hegseth, our former colleague, the nominee for Secretary of Defense, will also be making the rounds. Just what's the vibe among the Republican senators about their potential, going through and eventually being voted on? Like, what kind of the reaction that you're hearing?
You know, I think most people are keeping a pretty open mind to most of the nominees, with the exception of really Matt Gaetz. I think that's a very hard hill to climb for Matt to get confirmed. I think Pete has some questions to ask or answer. There's been some issues come up with what happened in 2017, or what did or didn't happen. I think if he can get past that hurdle, we'll see Pete as a Secretary of Defense. I believe Bobby Kennedy will get confirmed as Secretary of HHS, and I believe Tulsi has a really good shot of being confirmed as DNI. I think the biggest hurdle, though, will be Matt Gaetz.
Okay. Well, if 3 or more senators from the GOP side say no to Matt Gaetz, he won't make it. The same is true for all of the nominees. That's your margin of error there.
But Matt didn't do himself any favors when he was in the House. He made a lot of a lot of enemies and accused a lot of people of doing a lot of stuff that wasn't true. And maybe Matt can come past and work past all that. You know, there's no question that Matt and I have had very public, strong opinions about each other. But I have said from the beginning that out of respect for President Trump, I'll keep an open mind moving forward. But he's still got to come up here and sell himself. It's not a matter of putting yeses on the board for him. It's a matter of keeping no's from going up.
Did he change any minds today, you think? Quick.
I don't know. I didn't meet with him. I'm not on his list. I met with Lee Stefanik and Doug Collins, and I'm sure I'll be on the list pretty quick for them to meet with.
Okay. Senator, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Exciting times around D.C. for once.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
We can't get rid of quick enough, Senator. Thank you.